Today we are talking about interior elevations. Now we're going to do something a little different this time. We're not going to do our interior elevations in quarter inch, so they're going to be in half inch, and that's the standard. But right now we're going to have a little lecture on interior elevations. So I'm going to go to my PowerPoint and interject, and I hope you enjoy this presentation. Excited, so let's take a look-see, shall we? And let me get this to full animation. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about interior elevations right here and understanding them a little bit more in detail. So this week we want to further understand elevations for interior applications, the difference between presentation elevations and elevations for a set of ID drawings, interior design drawings. And these are the methods for these outcomes represented in this related assignment. This is how we'll achieve these methods. But I want you to understand in this lecture the difference between presentation elevations and ID drawings. That's interior design drawings. That is what we are doing. Interior elevations, construction elevations versus presentation. Here you would see what we would call an ID elevation. This is very geared towards an installation for a contractor. A presentation elevation is geared towards giving the client the visualization of what their elevation will look like, and it is used for a selling tool. So you really put in a lot of graphics and make it come alive for them. Now, let's just see if we can move. I wish I could move this up. You're getting a little chopped off here. But when we do a presentation elevation, we use this to communicate the design intent to a client. We use it to sell the design concept, visualize the finishes, create realism in the design, and show proportions. Explain the color story. We use it to gain financing for investors. We keep components in design contract. It's a key component in the design contract, and we use it to clarify the final design decisions. So when we're doing presentation design, we really want to create a look that's alive for them so they can sell it. Sometimes they'll take that concept and they will get investors, or they will have a better idea of what's going on. So presentation is there mainly for sales and communicate design intent. But once you get past that, that's where we roll into our design drawings, the ID drawings. And that is more when we start getting into the installation and of the space. So here's a presentation elevation. This was for a little yogurt shop we did for Frappies. Sorry, it's a little chopped off here. And we are showing how great the pattern, the tile pattern looks, and it's to the correct scale. We plugged in the mirror style, some of the decor they purchased, the wall color. And so that creates a really realistic view. So the client just is like, I see what it looks like and I know what it looks like. This was the tile we used for that. So this little 8x8 square tile. So when you go back to this, you really see how it looks to scale. And it really gives the impression of what this looks like applied. So I love doing that. You will be learning those sorts of things later on in the program. And that's one of the funnest parts. We have to go very far with a lot of communication before we can get to that point. Usually the client is approving these finishes as we go along, but this helps the design process. So presentation elevations are a lot of fun, and they do give a lot of excitement and give a visual cue to the clients. Here are some of the programs that are very important that you learn in your education that we use mainly. We use what's called the Adobe Suites mainly. So we do two different kinds of things to present these drawings. You can do hand rendering and coloring, such as perspective drawings, which you will have a class in, or Rapid Viz, where you are rapidly doing quick sketches for your clients by hand. We also use what I said is the Adobe suites, which include Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. These are the suites. Photoshop is great for manipulating photographs. What you just saw, that elevation, that was Photoshop. Adobe Illustration is great for logos. It's not done in pixels, but very solid. And so it's fantastic for creating logos and a very strong graphics. And InDesign is the latest thing that we love. InDesign is where you take your Photoshop and your ID creations and you implement them in this multi-page program. It can create an entire book. It sets up several pages. So InDesign is something that people are using all the time. We use that. We might set up a page, and maybe we have multiple pages for a client. So we can schedule that. It's like a template. And then we implement things from Photoshop, from Adobe Illustrator, and it creates like a booklet. You could do 1 page, you could do 100 pages. It's a fantastic tool, and it is used widely in the industry. Next is SketchUp. You will also learn SketchUp in the program, and SketchUp is taking these designs and elevations and putting them in a 3-dimensional format. And SketchUp is easily found. It's free. You can download it. There are updated versions called Layout that gives you more options that you pay for yearly. You will be learning SketchUp in further classes, and it's really pretty simple and user-friendly, and it allows you to take your floor plans and so forth, elevate them in a 3-dimensional way, and apply finishes. And other rendering programs, there are AutoCAD, Revit, BIM, which is building information modeling. These are different programs that they do to create 3-dimensional renderings. There's also different higher end programs that other renderers use. So all of those will help with these design intent and presentation drawings. For example, let me grab one. I designed a prototypical design for a, let me get this right, for a dog grooming company. And here we put it in a 3-dimensional perspective. And I had a professional, he used a program to create this very realistic almost photo rendering of my design. And it was exactly what the client was looking for. He was able to show that to other investors to try to gain more finances to launch this new franchise. So that's just a little example of a 3D rendering and perspective and using presentation elevations. Next, so there it is. That was the elevation I showed you. And this was one elevation, that was a presentation. And then when you see it into the perspective, you see that little guy right there? That was that elevation. And now we put it into a 3D rendering. And so that's how we can take those elevations that we created, give them to a renderer or create a rendering, and then we make the thing look very 3-dimensional. So that elevation was represented in the 3D rendering. Here was the other elevation that was represented in the 3D rendering. This is one of the feature walls. So again, that is that wall right over here. See, with Audrey Hepburn and her dog. So I've taken the flat elevations and made them into more of a 3-dimensional drawing. So that wall was represented also on the rendering. Now, how do we start our elevation drawings for ID drawings? Well, first we have to draft them, and there are certain things we must do. So this is how we get started. First thing you guys did is you drafted that floor plan to scale. Remember, we drafted the floor plan to scale. We also did the reflective ceiling plan. So you need to have a floor plan to scale, the RCP. You need to have ceiling heights, very important. If you don't have a RCP, you at least need a ceiling heights. We also need other key information, window heights and sizes. and other key architectural features, such as columns or doors or cabinetry. So, like before, you have done these elevations. You know that you need certain information, those ceiling heights, the window heights, the doors, any columns, any cabinetry. These are things fixed to the property. You need to know them so that you can create a perfect rendition of what it looks like elevated. When you don't have ceiling heights, it's very difficult to do a wall because you need to know where it begins and where it ends. And also your windows. You need to know how far they are above the floor and the sizes. So in this situation, knowing, some of these window heights, knowing where the doors are, how high the ceilings are, extremely important. How do we get started? Well, first, we determine the scale of our elevations. Now, most elevations are in half of inch, but some are in quarter inch. The first time we did our elevations, we used orthographic projection. Remember, off of our quarter inch floor plan, we just raised up the lines and the floor plan was in quarter inch, the elevations were in quarter inch. This time, our floor plan's in quarter inch, which is very standard, but our elevations are going to be in a half an inch. So you are going to have to use your scale for this one. You'll have to lay down your scale on the wall in quarter inch, and then you're going to have to lay it out in a half of an inch. So it'll be double the size. So remember, when you're doing this, I don't want to see any elevations in quarter inch. I want to see them all in half an inch. So it won't be quite as fast doing orthographic projection. You're going to have to make friends with your scale. So we're raising them up and doubling the size. This allows us to give more detail, more interest in the elevations. You can really show the tile and the design. When they're smaller, you can only do so many elevation or so many details. Next, we need to determine what walls we're elevating. So we have to say what walls are we going to elevate. Then we put elevation symbols on the floor plan. This is something that we are going to do in the demo. First thing we're going to do is grab our floor plan and put our elevation marks. Before we can do any elevations, we've got to decide which elevations are we doing? What walls are we going to interpret and show the client? So you've got to decide that. Then we are going to block out our rows on the picture plane, your piece of vellum, with the correct ceiling heights. Then you'll start the first elevation and determine the length of the walls. We'll continue to block out all the lengths of the walls according to the order of the elevation symbols. So here you see, once we just determined where the elevations go, we start to block out our elevations. We use elevations. I personally, in my firm, we start with A, B, C, D, E. Some firms may start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is up to the architectural firm. But in our case, we're going to start with elevation A and go along in chronological order. Now, once you've blocked out these walls with your horizontal and vertical lines, and remember, blocking out, you need to use very light lines, correct? Very light pencil. So we do the blocking out. Horizontal lines can be used basic feature spaces. So let's say your horizontal line for the floor, a horizontal line for the ceiling. Then maybe you have a countertop and it comes up 36 inches, so you do one horizontal line for that. Maybe the backsplash is 18 inches, so you do a horizontal line for that. So it's great to block out your drawings, especially kitchens this way. You add your doors, your ceiling heights, your kitchen cabinets, and your millwork. So this is how we start to lay that out. You've done this before, and it's a good practice. Then once you've gotten those horizontal lines in, you start to carve out your space according to that floor plan. So when you know there's an opening perhaps in a space, you start to realize you have your 3 feet or 36 inches here, your 18 inches of backsplash, your 3-foot cabinets. These have upper. You start to carve in your space according to your floor plan. You get in the cabinetry, you start adding in architectural features such as windows and doors. This is a profile of a cabinet right here. Add the toe kicks. So this is when we start to carve in the space. The next layer would be adding more graphics like tile, subway tile, some mirror, just, creating depth to your elevations, making them more exciting and more pleasing and communicating more to your client what they look like. So here are some simple elevations produced by, this is a product this is more computer drafted, but here you will see once we start to outline all our cabinetry, the very final step in this is adding interior dimensions. Dimensions. Why? Why do we add dimensions? I want you to think of this one thing. When you're looking at an interior design elevation, you have to say what on the wall is affixed and what does the general contractor, what information does he need in order to hang that item on the wall. This is why we put exterior or interior dimensions. We show the TV and we show where the electrical goes. Remember, you put your outlets 60 inches above finished floor. We show that TV there. We show the dimensions 60 inches above finished floor. And we show where exactly it is on the wall. In the middle, is it to the side? That is the question. 2 dimensions per item, how high it is off the floor and how far it is from the wall. Everything that goes on the wall needs 2 dimensions to direct it. Now, you are only dimensioning items that are affixed, that means connected to the wall. You do not dimension furniture that's loose or just things that are just leaning. Anything that is attached to the wall must have a dimension for the contractor. Super important. So here they have this floating shelf. They're telling the contractor it's 4 feet 3 inches above finished floor. Here, the other shelf, 4 feet 10 1/4. Here, the third shelf. They're also saying, once again, 2 dimensions. Go over 2 feet. That's your first shelf. And then you have these dimensions. This will tell the contractor how to use floating shelves. Once again, here, with light fixtures, we always dimension the center point of them. That's showing where that electrical outlet is being installed. So here, the electrician would go up 4 feet and 9 inches, and then he would go over 3 inches and place that fixture there. Here, they're showing another 3 feet 2 inches, and that's where they would place that sconce. But it's the same height. They're even. Here's showing the mirror in between. And so here we have all the dimensions that we need to hang all of these items for the contractor. Once again, here's another side. This is a different angle. So they're showing a lot of the repeat dimensions. Now, kitchen elevations are very unique. I've said this before, but I will repeat it. Kitchens are the only thing that we dimension in inches only. Kitchen cabinet designers and kitchen designers dimension in inches only. As designers, we may put feet and inches for overall dimensions, but when you're really dimensioning a kitchen, you do it in inches. So when you are dimensioning your kitchen, I want to see all the cabinetry in inches. The rest of the elevations will be in feet and inches. So kitchen are in inches only. The rest of the elevations are in feet and inches. Very important. So here you'll see 42-inch pantry, a 36-inch refrigerator, 18-inch drawers, an 18-inch dresser or a drawer, and another 2 large drawers. We have a 36-inch lower cabinet with drawer or with a hinges here, a dishwasher, and then another little cabinet. They also have, very standard to kitchens, you go up 36 inches is your total counter height. Then an 18-inch backsplash and about a 36-inch upper cabinets. Don't forget these little dashed lines here that create the hinge. Remember, this is where the hinge is. So you open it, and that's where it's connected. Once again, they have 24-inch cabinets here, 24-inch cabinets here. And they show the window size. Now, what I would also need is actual on center where these sconces are installed. So here you see kitchen is in inches. They've also created some nice details by adding this lighter subway brick pattern backsplash. They show the installer how far it goes up to the windowsill. They show some nice poles and some casework detailing. See, with the windowsill and the casework. Beautiful detail on the sconces. And so this is the kind of thing we want to see. They show some of the millwork around this pantry, like a shaker cabinet. And so that really shows you what the style is, and it gives a great design intent. Now, note, for construction, ID drawings only draft what is affixed to the wall. Now, I have said that, and I'm going to repeat it. So what information does the GC need to know before he hangs something up correctly? Do not draft furniture unless it is built in. I can't say this enough. Presentation drawings, yes. Put the furniture in to show the client what it looks like, but ID drawings, no furniture, only what's affixed to the wall. So that's two big differences with ID drawings versus presentation. ID drawings, no furniture. Presentation drawings, yes, furniture. So here, this is a Frappies. We are showing various call outs. Remember the calls. These are telling you PT1, what paint color, LT1, there's a light there. These are letterings that's called out, different paints, the brick that's called out. Sorry, it's a little cut off. And I have overall overall wall heights, overall wall lengths, and then I show where this molding goes right here. So the contractor knows they go over a certain amount, put a piece of molding, go over a certain amount, put a piece of molding. That communicates what they need to know and what they need to install. They also know the height of where to start these letters. So that's the Frappies wall. It sure looks more exciting this way, but this is what an ID drawing looks like. Notice the difference. There is no furniture in the ID drawings, and here we put in the furniture just to give the whole vibe. So here we, now often I will put the art in. We didn't do that here, so that's also a good thing to put in because it is affixed to the wall. But this really gives a good visual for the client. So as you can see, there's a lot to know about exterior elevations, but I really want you to be aware of the difference between presentation and ID drawings and all the different components. In the demo, I will walk us through those, and we'll walk through how to lay out our interior elevations and what I'm expecting to do. We'll walk through the various steps that I took you through in this lecture, and we'll put it to paper on my beautiful whiteboard. So until then, enjoy the video, watch it, and I look forward to seeing you at the demo.